Hi, this is Steve Dunlap. I'm a regional educator with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. And as you can see behind me, it's early spring, which means that a lot of our hunters in this state are starting to think about turkey hunting. Turkey hunting is probably one of the most intense and one of the most exciting sports that you can participate in. But I want to today teach you how to make it more rewarding. And what we're going to be doing is introducing our turkey hunters to hunting with a traditional flintlock smoothbore gun from the 18th century. Well folks, it's so windy out on the range that we had to come inside so we could show you this. Just imagine how awesome it would be to bag a big Arkansas longbeard with a gun like this. This is the French Type D trade gun. And this gun started showing up in Arkansas in the 1730s, and it was highly valued as a hunting gun for not only the Native Americans but also the European colonists. This particular gun was made by Kaywood Gunmakers in Berryville, Arkansas, and it is beautiful. It's a curly maple stock, the furniture is brass, the butt plate is nice and rounded, it has a good wrist. Of course, it is a flintlock, and it's a smoothbore gun, so there's no rifling in it. It's octagon to round. This is a 20 gauge, which means you can shoot it as a 20 gauge shotgun, or you can shoot it using a 60 caliber musket ball. So we're going to take this to the range and do two things. First is to figure out the pattern. We're going to be trying two different wads to figure out what makes the best pattern. First will be this fiber wad, which you can get commercially, and also we're going to try the cardboard wad. Then we're going to figure out what's our maximum effective range on this gun, so that when we take it turkey hunting, we have confidence that this gun will bag the bird that's in front of us. So let's get on the range. Okay, we're on the range now, and what we're going to do is we're going to load this gun and see if we can get a good pattern out of it. Now, before we start, we need to make sure that the firearm is already unloaded. So the way that we do that is using this ramrod. So we're going to take this ramrod and we're going to put this down the bore. And since I know this gun, if I've got this much of the ramrod sticking out of the muzzle, then I know the gun is unloaded. You can also drop and ping your ramrod by just dropping it and listening for a ping. And that's another way. But this is the most reliable way to make sure your gun's unloaded. All right, so we got a clean bore, and we're going to begin. Now, as I said before, we're going to experiment with two different kinds of wads. First is the fiber wad. That's what we're going to shoot first. And we're going to start with 60 grains of black powder. So we're going to take our measure and we're going to set that for 60 grains. All right. Always pre-measure your powder charge before you pour it down the muzzle. There are several reasons for this. Number one, you need to know what you're measuring so that you know what your charge is. And number two, it's really for safety. Come on out of there. It's really for safety because after you shoot this gun for a little bit, you will get fouling that builds up in the muzzle. And that fouling can continue to burn after the gun's been fired. So if I'm pouring a powder charge down the muzzle and it ignites from burning embers, I'm only burning this much powder, and I'm not burning this much powder, which can very much hurt you. All right, so we're going to send that down its merry way. So that's going to be our powder charge. 60 grains of 2FG black powder. I always like to give the gun a little shake like that just to make sure she's all the way down. All right, the next step is to put the over powder wad. So we're going to place one of these fiber wads in the muzzle right here, and then we're going to send this home with our ramrod. Now, anytime that you're ramming whether it be a wad or a patched ball. Okay, the idea is not to strike it, but to push it. So you're going to grab hold of your ramrod about 6 inches above and push push this wad or your ball down on top of the powder charge. You don't want to come way up here and then strike the ball, because it could deform it and then it won't fly right. So you need to push that all the way down on top of your powder charge. Make sure that it's all the way seated. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure out our shot. So this is the shot pouch that we had talked about, and I'm going to measure out 1 ounce of shot. Since we're trying to figure out if we can kill turkeys with this, we're going to use size number 4. Most turkey hunters, well, they seem to like anything from 6s to 5s to 4s, and they even make blends. So we're going to use lead number 4s. So that's going to go, sorry about that, that's going to go down our muzzle. All right. Now, the last step in this process is to make sure that the shot doesn't spill out. So we're going to put an over-the-shot wad on top of that, and really anything that can be used, but commercially these little overshot paper cups work really good. So we're going to center that up on our muzzle, and we're going to push that square down. What we don't want to do is push it down in there so that it's sideways. We got a nice tight fit, because I can hear the air. All right, the gun is now loaded. I'm not going to prime the gun here. We're going to prime the gun when we get it on the bench, and we'll shoot it and see what kind of pattern that we get out of it at 20 yards. This is a smooth bore gun, so there is no choke that goes on these guns. So it'll be interesting to see. What we get. All right, even though we're using this as a shotgun, we're going to still shoot this off of the bench for a couple reasons. I need to know how the gun performs, not how I perform with the gun. So we're going to take the human element out of this. And again, I prefer to prime the gun on the line like this, and I use a priming horn to do that. And so you just sprinkle in just a little bit of powder in there. All right. This is the cardboard wad.
If it explodes,
What do you think?
good.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is, at least for this gun, the cardboard wad seems to have a more even pattern, whereas the fiber wad, and you can see the fiber wad went right through the target here. Seems like it spread it out a little more. So,
well, it did, but it also concentrated it more in this area here. Whereas over here,
it's a little more evenly spread out.
It's more spread out, and your concentration is more in the middle.
Right. Yeah.
So the cardboard is definitely a better setup.
At least for
the 20 yards for that shot with 60 grains of Dunlap.
All right, so we've moved our target out to 30 yards, and since a smoothbore doesn't have a choke, we got to get we still need to get the pellets out there at 30 yards to kill turkey. With no choke, you increase the shot load. All right, so in order to increase the shot load, you also have to increase the powder charge. So we're going to start with 85 grains of 2F. Showed that the cardboard wads did a little better with this gun, so we're going to put a cardboard wad in, and we're going to run that down on top of the powder charge. Okay, now we're going to measure out our shot. We're going to start with 1 ounce. And then we're going to add another 1/2 ounce. Use the stopper here to measure that. So that is just a little over half. We'll pour that down. All right. The last thing is the over the shot wad. Sure that it is not sideways. All right, the gun's ready to go to the line. Okay folks, we have 2 turkey targets here. These were both shot at 30 yards. We used 85 grains of 2FG powder behind 1.5 ounces of number 4 shot. And even at 30 yards with a smooth bore, no choked gun, we've got 2 dead birds.
All you need is 1 pellet. That'll do it. That'll do it. That won't. That won't. Over here we got quite a few. Dead, 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 dead. Probably dead.